old, and a lot of it is common sense. And you were talking a
All
lot
of
about
it is common sense.
Right.
But of course, when people use the word common sense, what they mean is uncommon sense, because the standard human condition is ignorance and stupidity. And so when they say old Joe has common sense, what they mean is he has uncommon sense.
I guess it's a bit of a misnomer then. But
It really is.
so, yeah, why is it that people can't think clearly about investing or decisions in their lives?
Well, they don't think very well about sex or gambling either. No, the standard human condition is a lot of miscognition.
And there are ways to make hay of that, or...
Yes, you can take advantage of other people. You can improve your own life by eliminating your miscognitions.
Let me campaign to lobby the Fed to lower rates or keep rates low.
Well, I think presidents have always done this. If you're a politician in a democracy, of course you want people to print money and spend it. And of course it's not a good idea. The best example probably in the whole world is Singapore, which has zero debt and never prints money and spends it, and is one of the most successful places on earth. I wish we were like that, but there's only one Singapore.
Well, some people now say that federal debt is not a problem at all.
Well, if you believe that, you believe in the tooth fairy, because then we don't have to have any more taxes ever. We'll just print money and live happily ever after. It obviously won't work.
So
There comes a point when printing money is counterproductive.
are we at that point? Are you concerned?
No, I don't think we are at that point, but nobody knew where the point was going to come, and we don't know now. None of these people who are so pompously sure of things, because we all want reassurance, and so they provide it. But nobody really knows how much of this is too much.
And do you have any thoughts on Jay Powell and the job that he's done?
Well, I think a lot of him. I think he's as good a choice as we could have made.
One consequence of this expansion, or actually it precedes that, it's just something that's occurred in our economy over the past 50 years really, has been wealth and income inequality.
Yeah.
One, do you see it as a problem? Two, if so, how do we address it?
Well, it's a problem if enough politicians are screaming about it. That makes it a problem. If it weren't for that, this one will go away by itself. It happened by accident. We were in desperate trouble. We were on the eve of a great recession that could have been a Great Depression, and then followed by the rise of people like Adolf Hitler and so on and so on. So we faced a real catastrophe. The only weapon they had with this huge was to print money and spend it. And they did it. Well, of course, and they drove interest rates down to zero, or real interest rates. Well, of course, that lifted asset values for the people who were already rich. Nobody was trying to make the rich richer. It just was an accidental byproduct of a correct governmental decision made on a bipartisan basis. And since it was a weird byproduct that occurred in a weird time.
How did you help him make that decision?
Well, it was perfectly obvious, and he'd made so much money in the other technique that it was hard for him to leave something that had worked so well. But it was not going to scale. So when he started looking for investment values in great businesses that were temporarily under pressure, it changed everything for the better. Now we could scale up to the big time.
Are Apple and Amazon technology companies, or are they brand companies?
Both.
Someone told me they asked Warren if he could buy one brand, this was about 40 years ago, what that company, what that brand would be, and he said Gillette, which makes sense. What would that company be today?
Coca-Cola.
Still?
If you take the amount of Coca-Cola drunk in the world and the main flavor, it's one hell of a brand. Now, it's such a different product from this stuff on the internet. I don't have the same My judgment would not be as good on the internet as it is on Coca-Cola.
I want to get back to Apple. Tim Cook was at the meeting yesterday.
He was indeed.
Did you get a chance to speak with him?
I did.
Can you tell us what you guys talked about?
Nothing. We exchanged pleasantries. But he's a wonderful guy, and of course it's a huge record that he's building.
Let me ask you a little bit about Kraft Heinz and that situation. During the meeting yesterday, we found out that the chief marketing officer was leaving the company. Did you know that, and what does that mean for the company?
I knew nothing about it in advance. What happened there was very easy. The truth of the matter is that Heinz ketchup is a stronger brand than Kraft cheese, and they paid more for it. So one acquisition worked brilliantly and the other worked poorly. Well, welcome to adult life. It happens to everybody.
You mentioned that you think that Tim Sloan could still be or should still be the CEO of Wells Fargo?
Yeah, if I were running the world, Tim Sloan would still be the CEO of Wells Fargo.
Well, why did he leave then?
Well, he made this decision, but he was being pushed hard. He did it for the benefit of the company. There was just so much of this partisan hatred was washing off against Wells Fargo. It's understandable. He was there for a long time. The company had defrauded its own customers. Nobody was seemingly being punished for it in some people's minds. Listen, 2 CEOs left under pressure. I regard that as a lot of punishment. So I don't think these people were failing with their anger. They removed 2 CEOs, but now they went out. It's like Tim Sloan was not responsible for the crazy incentive system that created the trouble. So they threw him out the way you'd take out the charwoman when you raid a gambling establishment.
Getting back to Coca-Cola, you mentioned that it would be a bad idea if it got into cannabis. I mean, why not? Doesn't it make sense?
Because it's such a wholesome brand and associated with happiness. Why do we want to associate it with a recreational drug?
Well, they have to grow.
I think that would be a terrible idea.
What about